Hey faithful viewers, I'd like to apologize for the delay on this week's episode. It's been chaos over here at the Fungeon Master household. Anyway, this week's episode...
Thriftstore Jackpot episode.
What am I talking about? Well, I found some goodies at the local Goodwill, and I want to share them with you. If you are a D&D Minis player, you gotta hit the thrift stores. You have no idea what you might find. Maybe nothing, or maybe something great. I keep my eyes open for little statuary, models, toys, things like this. Many episodes back, I turned a little lighthouse statue into a necromancer's tower. If you haven't seen that one, it's, under my playlist. You should probably be subscribed anyway. And that was a thrift store purchase, that little tower. So it's a great project. It only cost $1, and terrain that size would cost much more if you bought it, pre-constructed. So something to think about. This week I picked up this eagle statue for $1.68, and I'm going to take an hour or two to convert it into a rock with a rider. And they're commercially available rocks you can get from Wizards of the Coast. They run between $10 and $13 before shipping. And, man, it's a lot of money. And also, they're posed like they're making sure the neighbor's Doberman didn't ruin their best pair of tennis shoes. So, if that's something you're interested in, you can drop that. Or you can hunt around and get yourself a little statue like this one. Let's see, a couple other things about the thrift store rock. It's got a few advantages. One is, already comes with a terrain on the base, so, there's that. I don't have to flock it or anything, glue any pieces of wood. And also, the base is 4 inches by 4 inches exactly, which is what the rock is listed as having for a base in the monster manual. How cool is that? Sometimes you just get lucky. Now, before I start painting, let's take a second to talk about giant birds, because they're an inescapable part of fiction and mythology. They're everywhere. Every culture has folk tales about giant birds, and they've been kept alive in the worlds of fantasy and science fiction. It must be because they make such effective monsters. They're terrifying, they're inspiring all at once. If you include them in your game, it gives your players a chance to understand what it means to square off against a winged behemoth before you put them against some sort of party killer like a dragon or a pit fiend. They can also be a novel method of fast travel in between action beats in your campaign, so that's cool too. And you can also give a huge logistical advantage to an antagonist if you give them a rock, if you make them some kind of a large bird rider. And don't feel like you have to be tied to the name rock, you can just take that rock stat block and just call your beastie a giant eagle or a hawk or even a raven if you wanted to. You can see I'm cutting up one of these corncob holders. I just want the corncob part this time. I will save the spiky bit for later use though, as it's pretty neat. This will be the back of our knight's saddle. I'm going to make the saddle very fancy since it's going to be a large bird, and he's actually going to need to just sit on the saddle itself and not on the bird. It'll be on the back because there's no way his legs are going to look good spread wide enough to get around this giant beast. So I'm slapping this together. The saddle, as you can see, is made of 3 wooden pony beads. I've got rubber bat legs sticking out the side and the back. This plastic knight you're looking at is a plastic Brentonian. Going back a ways, I don't even know what edition of Fantasy Warhammer he's from. Once you've constructed your knight and his saddle, we're going to prime everything in black, flat black spray paint. What we have in the front is a lion's head, which I cut off a lion from a bag of plastic animals, real cheap. And I cleaned that up, and we're going to dry brush gold on that. We're going to dry brush gold on the base of his seat. I'm dry brushing brown onto the shield and also the back part of the seat, the high-backed chair. About 80% of this knight is going to be dry brushed in silver, and that includes the base of the seat. You can see I cut the bottom up a little bit so it'll fit a little more snugly on the bird. We're going to use green on the cloth. I decided to go with sort of a druidic theme since there's going to be green on the base. It's going to mostly be green, brown, and yellow, so I want green, brown, and gold on the knight to sort of match the bird. And any knight who has a giant bird as a steed is probably pretty nature oriented, so I wanted to just keep that theme running throughout, tie the whole miniature together. I'm going to put a big solid wet coat of brown on the back of the bird here. And I'm doing that because we're going to then dry brush light mocha on top of that. On the undercoat where the dark is, that's going to stay black. We're just going to dry brush brown onto that. Give us a nice effect of where the light's hitting it. And as you remember, it was just sort of the same solid brown, light brown throughout originally. Almost looked like watercolors. And then we're going to dry brush the rock that the bird is standing on. We're going to pretty much treat the log with the bark portion the same as the bird. Where shadow is, you know, we dry brush brown on black. Where light's hitting it, we're going to dry brush mocha on brown. I'm using that same mocha as for the wooden part, although I'm going to put a brown wash inside the cracks inside the wood, and also dry brush white onto the wood. The same dark green that went on the knight is going to go on the grass, and we're going to use the same lighter green to highlight the grass with dry brushing that we'll use on the knight. I'm running some string through the saddle portion. It's like a shoelace, but I actually will end up using a different string when it's all said and done. I just wanted to see what that would look like. And this little portion of the bird's face here, right behind the eye, I used a reference image for of an actual eagle. Apparently they're very sort of speckled in that area. Different colors, white, different shades of brown. So that's what we're going for. We're going to put some yellow on the beak, but ultimately the beak is going to end in black. I'm going to try very hard to recreate an eagle's eye on here. First I'm putting white underneath, and then yellow, and then black. I think this came out pretty good. This is about 99% of what the bird's going to look like. I'm pretty happy with it. And I'm going to put this little piece of foam back here to just sort of act as a bit more of a saddle, and also, you know, the cushion, the knight miniature, just to give it a better fit. And here's everything attached, not completely painted. I'm just painting some brown onto this silver string I used. I don't know if you call it string. I don't know what it is. Some sort of bracelet material, I'm sure. Decorative duct tape. I'm going to cut that up and make it into a pennant. I'm just going to use the green portion. You'll see what that looks like in a second. Let's take a look at the finished product. Turn it over to you, fellow crafters. What's the greatest thing that you found at the thrift store? Have you made any conversions that you're really proud of? Share it in the comments section. I'd like to hear back.